Hey guys, what's Gucci? It's Triple J here, and welcome to the channel. It's been a while. Still keeping up with the boxing, but yeah, I didn't give my thoughts yet on the Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence match, and I never made a prediction video, but I can tell my honest opinion and no bullshit what I thought was going to happen, and no, I didn't change my opinion after the fact, right? Or I didn't be like, oh, I knew this would happen. Like, I didn't flip flop. So, it's a shame I didn't make my a video before the fight, because then, like, you guys would know I'm not lying. But I'm not gonna lie, because I'm not like I wasn't rooting for anybody to win. Both guys are good fighters. Just want to see a good fight. So I didn't have like a boat in the race or anything. I don't have a problem with either guy really. They've done nothing wrong outside of the ring really. Nothing really like. Or I guess Errol Spence, maybe was he drinking and driving when he got in that accident? Other than that, he's never. I don't know if he was, but other than that, he's never been like nothing major problems with these guys. Pretty much classy guys. So. From what I've heard anyway. So no boat in the race though. I thought that Crawford was going to win the fight by knockout, and it happened. So let me explain why I thought that before going into the fight. So I was never a big believer of Terence Crawford. Not the fact that he wasn't good, but I feel like they crowned him number one pound for pound way too early, and it kind of bugged me because he never proved anything. And I know they say, like, oh, the eye test, he is number one pound for pound, even though he hasn't faced anybody, like, just by the eye test. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not, you can't just go by that. Like, he has to beat guys to be pound for pound number one. You can't just say he can be number one pound for pound. The potential is there. So I was always kind of annoyed by that, and I was never a Crawford fan because of that. Because everyone was... From Max Kellerman to a lot of people would say that he's number one pound for pound after he unified the 140 pound division when he beat Victor Postal, which really, where's Victor Postal now, right? Like, I really don't, not saying that he wasn't a good fighter, but he wasn't like a amazing fighter, right? Like, he beat Lucas Matisse, I guess. That was just like one of his better wins. So, and then they were claiming he was number one pound for pound, and then when he moved up to welterweight, they were ranking him pretty highly, and I just didn't understand why they were doing that when you had an Errol Spence who was facing all the top guys at welterweight, and he wasn't getting the same praise, so it was kind of weird. So in that sense, I wasn't a fan of Crawford. Not because of his own actions, but just because everyone was crowning him way too early. Just like what they're doing with Ennis Boots. It makes no sense. They did it a little bit with Spence. They do it with all the prospects, but like to call a guy, they're not calling Ennis number one pound for pound, and they're not calling. I don't think they ever called Spence number one pound for pound, to be honest. But they really were calling Crawford number one when he didn't really beat anybody. So. But I started becoming a believer, like, with my... Because I have to see it with my own eyes. And when because every fight, I'm like, okay, like, he kept on beating these guys. Like, at 140, nothing really impressed me there, right? Like, Victor Postal was his best win. I'm like, okay. Like, good fighter, but how does that make you number one pound for pound? Ricky Burns, I think he beat, right? So, like, nothing crazy, right? That would... caused me to believe that he's number one pound for pound. So he went up to welterweight, and then he beat like Amir Khan, Jeff Horn. And yeah, like Amir Khan, I didn't even count that at all. As like, I think, okay, that everyone beats Amir Khan, right? Jeff Horn, Manny Pacquiao could have knocked him out when he was like 39 years old. So like, still a good win, but to say that he's the best welterweight after those, I was still a critic. But he's knocking these guys out, right? He's knocking Amir Khan. Everyone knocks him out. Jeff Horn pretty much was knocked out against Manny Pacquiao. But then he fights like fighters like Kell Brook. He knocks him out. You can say, oh, damaged goods, Gennady Golovkin, Spence. Okay. And then he fights Sean Porter. He knocks him out. So like every fight, like you gotta put a stop to it eventually, right? Like you gotta give him credit eventually. So when he beat Kell Brook, I'm like, okay. He beat him with like a jab too. Like he pretty much hurt him bad with a jab. So I was like, okay, like I gotta stop saying like excuses, right? Like Crawford's got power, obviously, and he knows how to use it. And then Sean Porter, he proved it again. So like every fight, he's been knocking guys out, and then you come to realize like no one else has knocked out Sean Porter, right? Kell Brook, like Spence had a real tough time with Kell Brook. It went really late in the fight, and that was after the Gennady Golovkin fight, I'm pretty sure. So he already had the damaged orbital bone, but Spence still had a tough time with him. So eventually, I'm just like, you gotta give it to like. I feel like Crawford's the kind of guy you bet on. If you put a bunch of men in a room and you lock the door, he's gonna be the one that's coming out on top. He looks like that kind of guy, like that you would want to be with you in a street fight, you guys, that's why I went with him. I thought he was gonna knock out Spence, just because of that. He was knocking out everybody, and he seems to always hurt guys. That's why I picked him. Simple as that. He always hurts guys. And I always kept on making excuses like, this guy's over the hill. This guy's not that good. This guy was damaged goods. This guy, Sean Porter, was on his way up. But he's always getting them out. So eventually you got to think to yourself, maybe he just has that kind of power and he just hurts guys. And that's what I came to realize, and that's why I picked him. And then on the other end of the stick, you had Spence, where it looked like he was declining, in my opinion. Sure, he came back from the car crash. He beat Danny Garcia, but really he didn't look like, they were all praising him because he came back from the car crash, but he didn't look amazing, in my opinion. He didn't look amazing in that fight. In the Ugas fight, they gave him praise because they put a beating on Ugas, but if you look at that fight, though, Ugas hurt him a couple times, and he knocked I remember at one point in the fight, he knocked his mouthpiece out, and Spence looked down for some reason. I don't know why he lost focus and concentration, and Ugas cracked him again and sent him right into the ropes, and the ropes held him up, which should have been called a knockdown. And people were saying, oh yeah, he wasn't focused because he was looking at the ref and his mouthpiece. I'm like, but a guy like that, I found it strange that he would lose focus like that when he got hit by Ugas. And his feet did stutter. He did have Bambi legs for a second there. So that was concerning to me, that, like I said, we've seen the Danny Garcia fight. He beat him, but he didn't look spectacular. It was a decision. In the Ugas fight, he did knock him out eventually. What was it? Just a TKO, I think, right? But it was like Ugas was hanging in there. And if you looked at Ugas hurt him, it looked pretty bad in that round when I'm talking about when he knocked his mouthpiece out. Spence was dazed pretty bad in my opinion. And that was another sign. Like I was thinking to myself watching that fight, even though he got the win, I'm like, maybe the car crash, maybe the detached retinas, maybe just age, right? That is getting to him. I don't know, right? Maybe the weight cuts. I don't know. But it seems like he was slipping and he wasn't really dominating. And then you had the other guy, Crawford, who was just ripping through guys, knocking them out, right? Every fight, I think he's on the second longest knockout streak, or the longest in boxing right now, at the highest level anyway. So that's why I picked Crawford to knock him out. Just because from what I've seen, like Terence Crawford knocked out Kell Brook, he knocked out Sean Porter. If you look at Spence, had trouble with Sean Porter, had trouble with Kell Brook. And I know he faced these guys earlier, but still, the Ugas fight, he struggled there. Like, not to say he didn't put a beating on Ugas as the fight went on, but Ugas was having a lot of success with his counters and landing some shots, some power shots on Spence's chin, which he did hurt him bad. And the ref actually paused the action after that, which who knows what would happen if Ugas got to jump on him, right? It was kind of weird because he hurt Spence and he fell into the ropes, and then Ugas kind of just looked at him, stopped. It was kind of weird. But if he went in for the kill, who knows what would have happened. So, yeah, but let's go. So that was my prediction, Crawford by knockout. But let's get to the actual fight itself. The way it played out, I did not expect him to dominate Spence in the way he did. I did not expect it to be that one-sided. You rarely see the highest level boxing where one guy gets dominated like this. It rarely happens, especially a guy like Spence who unified and was on top at the highest level. He had the belts for years and years, beating the top guys, like the best guys in the division, everyone but Crawford. So it was weird to see him just get dominated like that. Like it was like a champion versus a contender. That's what it looked like. He looked like he was way above Spence. And I did not expect that, though. I expected, like I said, a knockout, like him to hurt him, but I expected Spence to like put up a good fight and put up and win rounds in the process before he gets stopped by Crawford by getting timed and clipping Spence. Because I was kind of, like I said, after I seen Ugas hurt him, I was like, okay, like Crawford might actually put him out if Ugas can hurt him like that. And the detached retinas and the car crashes, it all adds up, right? The weight cuts. But yeah, so I did not expect a domination. I expected a competitive fight until the point where Crawford could catch him and hurt him. But this was totally just one-sided. A guy put on pretty much a masterclass, you could say. Like, a lot of people use that word lightly, but this was an actual masterclass. Like, his defense and his offense was just superior to Spence in every way. He was landing his jab, every jab on Spence. He was landing at will. He was the stronger guy. He was the better fighter in almost probably every aspect, to be honest. He was stronger, he was faster, the timing was better, the boxing skills, the movement, the distance. Spence had no answer. He never adapted. He never changed. I think round 3, after he got dropped in round 2, was it? The first knockdown was in round 2, I think. Spence did try to come out really aggressive, but that didn't really last. After that, he kind of just, the flame was dimming out. It was slowly burning out, his flame, as the fight went on. You could see spurts of it when he was trying to will himself into the fight, Spence. The guy is a very good athlete. The guy is like a workhorse in there. He's like the definition of a workhorse. The way he fights, he puts on pressure, a lot of punches, physically tries his best, but boxing's not just physicality and athletics. It is skill, timing, and understanding and adapting. And Spence never did that. Spence just tried to will himself physically pushed himself to stay in the fight, which you could see, and which works most of the time because he outworks you. He overwhelms you with his physical energy like he did with Ugas. He just broke him down. He just kept on going forward and throwing punches to the body, the head. But when you get a guy like Crawford, who just knows how to fight, like knows the boxing ring so well, the distance, the timing, it was just like, you can't beat him just with physicality. And that's, so I'm not going to say some people are saying, oh, it was fixed, Spence gave the fight away so they could have a rematch, or Spence, whatever. Like, no, Spence was trying. He just couldn't beat the skill of Crawford. Simple as that. So, good fight though, but one-sided. So you could say it wasn't a good fight in that sense, but still exciting. One-sided exciting though. I'm just surprised. You rarely see a guy get dominated like that at this level. And it's not like, when I say this level, I don't mean a guy coming up the ranks, a contender, and challenging the champion. I'm saying a guy who had all the belts, who was dominating, undefeated for years and years, and he goes out like this. Like, he gets dominated. Like, that rarely happens. You can rarely name cases where that happens. Yeah, so good fight. One-sided. Crawford gets the knockout win. Who can beat Crawford? I don't think anybody can beat Crawford, to be honest. I don't think anybody can beat Crawford. My boy Kavalauskas gave him a tougher fight, but like I said, maybe Crawford just... He does better the higher level the competition is, so maybe if he fought Kavalauskas again, or if Kavalauskas had the same aura as Spence, he would have did the same thing. But, yeah, obviously Kavalauskas did better. You could say Sean Porter did better, right? But when you raise your competition, you raise your level because you're excited, more excited for the fight, you're training harder. Maybe that's just the way it goes, right? Spence, he got up for Spence, and this is what he does, right? So, yeah, no one's beating him at 147, to be honest. You got Keith Thurman left. Is, what's his name, Ortiz? Is he still there? So people are saying he's moving up to 154. I haven't really heard that much about that guy, to be honest. He was supposed to fight that other Lithuanian guy. What's his name? I forget his name right now. But yeah, I haven't really looked up his name lately. I thought he was supposed to fight that Lithuanian guy, though. But I don't know what happened. Now people are saying he's going to 54. Like I said, don't take my word for it, guys. But so you have him, you have Keith Thurman, you have Boots. But these guys aren't ready. These guys aren't ready. Come on now. Maybe Keith Thurman. That'd be a good fight. But I just don't see how they're going to beat him. They're not going to beat him. And then if he moves up to 154 and Charlo tries to get some, Charlo ain't beating Crawford. Come on now. Charlo's not beating Crawford. I think, to be honest, I think Terence Crawford has to go up to 160 to get beat, or to at least have a challenge. Someone who can actually put up a very good fight with him. Because, I don't know. Who's at 154 really, right? I don't even know right now. Like, I know there's guys out there, but no really big names besides Charlo, right? Don't you have, what's his name? Son of, was it? Forget his name now. Guy from Australia. But you have him. Was it Zoo? So, what's his name again? Yeah, but drawing a blank right now, guys. You know who I'm talking about, though. Yeah, like, I don't even know where you really got, to be honest. I haven't really followed the 154 pounders that much. Terence Crawford versus someone at 160 after Jamal. I don't know who's at 154 because he's fighting Canelo now, right? The Charlo. So Crawford, he is definitely number one pound for pound, or definitely at least you got to put him top three. You got to put him with Tyson Fury. You got to put him with Usyk. You got to put him with Bivol. He's at least top five for everyone's list. But most people, he's going to be top three. I would say one, because he just beat the guy that was been beating the welterweights for how long now, and he made it look so easy, and you rarely see that. Yeah, so you got to put him up there. Obviously you got Inoue, and yeah, so he's there too. Yeah. So what's next for Crawford? I would like to see Keith Thurman, to be honest. That's going to be my pick, Keith Thurman. See how the Charlo does against Canelo, and we'll go from there. But anyway, guys, yeah, fight didn't go the way I thought it would go, like in the story of the fight, but the end of the fight went, like, the result is what I thought it would go, but not the way the story of the fight played out. But it was like Spence was sick or something. Like, I don't know what was wrong with him. It's like, I didn't expect him to be that bad, but I don't know. Maybe he was sick. Maybe he was the weight cut, like you say. But even then, like, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. Like, maybe he doesn't want to make excuses, but yeah, like the only thing I could say is if you were sick that night, then maybe that could be the result. But other than that, like the weight cut, like he's been cutting weight and he's never looked that bad. So yeah, like I just think it was the skill of Crawford, or like I said, unless he was sick that night. But I don't think that's come out though that he was. Um, so yeah, like that's the way the fight went. So what's next for Spence? I said just rest up, think about the rematch, but maybe not take it right now. Maybe get a tune up. Unless he was sick that day and he's just not saying it, then I would take the rematch because then you know. But if you know you were like decent, you were like it was just a weight cut, but and you felt a little weak, but like because like I don't see how that it's gonna really change that much. Then you would have to be like really bad on that night for that to happen. So if you were even like just a little weak from the weight cut, like even if you were say at 154, I don't think it will make that much of a difference. Like you might do a little bit better, but the way you got dominated, like I said, unless he was sick with the flu, then I would say take the rematch right away because that's how bad he looked. That it looked like no one expected that. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. This is Triple J Boxing, and take care.